Hello and welcome to John and Gary Live, and you're joining us with a pre-recorded session where tonight we are going to be talking about Australia's kind of attack on its own people and its own values, and how its people are being taught to actually hate Australia, and how our big institutions like our grocery shops and big corporate institutions are actually deciding to go along with this activist movement and get alongside hating Australia. And joining us tonight, we've got the Honourable Scott Burgess with us tonight. If you don't know Scott, I'm just going to let him introduce himself. Scott, who are you? What do you do?
Well, good evening. As you said, my name's Scott Burgess. I'm the owner of a store on the Pacific Highway, Tuggerah. It's called Silly Sollies, just near Super Cheap Auto and BCF. I've been in that retail game for a couple of years, but I spent a lot of time in retail. People might have seen me. I had a Boost Juice up at Erin Affair for 14 years. So, yeah, that's a bit of brief background.
Brief background. I love Boost Juice. That's one of my favorite things to get when I'm at the shops.
Yeah, go the Mango Magic, mate.
Mango Magic. I'm a Tropical Crush. My brother loves the Mango Wild, and he'll always ask for it, even though it's not on the menu anymore. And I don't even think the Tropical Crush is up there anymore.
Yeah,
So,
they've
but
run out of space, so they've always got all the recipes.
yeah, that's right. So Scott, John, is there anything you want to say before we get started?
No, I'm gonna just say I'm pretty boring with my Boost Juice. It's just anything that's banana, honey, I'll have.
Yeah, banana boat. Good stuff.
Maybe that should be a question we should ask all the guests.
There you go. What's your favourite Boost Juice?
What's your favorite Boost Juice? All right, so Scott made headlines during Australia Day this year when our big supermarkets, Aldi and Woolworths, decided to not do any sort of merchandise for Australia Day. Sorry about that. Yeah, so they've decided not to do any sort of merchandise for Australia, and Scott decided to jump on the horn and actually say, "We've got Australia Day merchandise. Come down to my store. We want unity. We want people to come here for Australia." Scott, can you actually walk us through what happened?
Yeah, it was quite a strange thing because obviously this is a bit of a first. We're all so used to being able to get merchandise.
That's right.
And the Silly Sollies franchises have always offered it, like, basically every other retail store. So I was preparing as usual to be able to provide the product to our customers. And it was amazing that it all became politicized just before, leading up to the event. And Woolworths makes the announcement they're not going to sell any merchandise products in their stores. And then it became a big news item. And we post regularly on our Facebook page. And I took it as an opportunity to really just provide some information to all our customers that we still had the product. And all I did was take a photograph of what we had for sale and basically had a headline about, was this controversial now to sell this? And why can't we just all get along? And that just blew up. So then I had all the media organizations contacting me.
Yeah, I saw. You made news.com.
Yeah.
Was this true? You made an appearance on 2GB as well?
Yeah, on 2GB on the Drive show. I was on Sky News, got interviewed there, and yeah, I was on Triple M locally. So it was topical because obviously it was quite divisive what was happening, and I didn't do this to get any notoriety. It was just about doing a post and thinking, what's the problem? And it got picked up in the news, and it's it spun into this massive story. And it was probably good because it enabled people to talk about it. Because we were just being fed by the news outlets that Woolworths weren't supporting it, and obviously there was people jumping on board saying they don't agree with it, And when we put ours up, it just kind of, lit a bit of a fire, and it kept rolling, and it was good. We were able to then openly talk about it.
Mm. Yeah, I mean the conversation over Australia Day seems to just always be Invasion Day these days, and it's something that we shouldn't be celebrating. It should be something that all of Australia should be, really feeling bad about. And I really hate that, because I think Australia as a country has come a long way uh, in the formation of Australia, and where we're at now, being such a prosperous nation for such a small nation as well, that we've built something really amazing here, and I think that's worth celebrating.
Oh, we're incredibly generous.
Yeah, we send a lot of our tax money, tax dollars overseas.
But also private institutions. If
Yeah.
there's devastation overseas, Australia's usually at the forefront
Absolutely.
donating.
I mean, just off topic slightly, but just currently, we send all these firefighters over to Canada with their wildfires.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah.
We're always jumping on board, and
Put a hand up.
that's right. And
Yeah, Aussie's always ready to lend a hand. And you got the Thailand, the kids who got stuck in the caves. The Aussie guys got them out. The New Zealand, when they had their big earthquakes and stuff, and there was huge devastation, we sent Aussies over there to help with the cleanup and finding people and whatnot. So
Every year we send our firefighters over to California too to
Yes.
fight their wildfires.
yeah, because we're pretty good at fighting them here.
yeah, lots of practice.
A lot of practice.
We're incredibly generous, and for a nation where we invite people here, and it's quite unusual, because we're a very friendly people,
Yeah.
and we're trying to create this one big family, and now we're getting all this pushback.
That's right. And this has actually come up on a previous segment of ours, that we've talked about multiculturalism and actually the dangers of multiculturalism, because then you start eroding, you have all those cultures then tensioning up against
And
each other, and fragmenting and eroding what we've actually created here in Australia, and the amazing and safe place that it is. So I've actually got your story up here, and we'll bring it up for everyone else to see. The headline from news.com, and this was on the 12th of January. Can't we just all get along? Central Coast $2 shop owner erupts over Australia Day saga. Erupts.
Yeah. They're passionate.
You don't sound like a man that would erupt.
No, I think
You are
it's,
looking good.
yeah,
Small discount store has become an unexpected focal point of the national debate as it defiantly embraces Australia Day merchandise. Silly Solly's in Tuggerah on the New South Wales Central Coast claims it has seen a surge in demand for patriotic gear as major Australian supermarkets shy away from Australia Day merchandise. So did you end up getting smashed?
Yes. Yeah, we sold out of everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So the as they say there, the patriotic gear was in demand.
Yeah,
Woolworths didn't say it's an Invasion Day sort of issue. They said no, we don't sell it. It doesn't sell anymore.
Yeah,
that was their claim, so they could get away from the actual topic of.
Yeah,
it's a bit divisive with certain groups, and obviously that's just a load of rubbish, because
it is a load of rubbish.
And when before Australia Day comes out, usually you go down to 7-Eleven and they're selling merchandise.
Yes.
You can't get away from it.
No.
And then on Australia Day itself, you'll find everyone with Australia Day, just Australia stuff everywhere. I mean, I had a towel, the thongs, flip flops for our American friends over the lake. But yeah, you just, and your Australia shirt, your pants, man, you just dressed to the nines in
flags on cars
everywhere. And look, Australia Day felt really different this year, and it didn't seem like you have those young kids walking around with the Australia Day flag on their back anymore. But we need to bring that back. We need to have pride in our nation and the amazing thing that Australia is and has become.
Well, it's kind of painted to us to be, ashamed.
That's right.
And I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, and it's coming up through our schooling system as well. So recently, I was doing a teaching degree, and I dropped out for a number of reasons. And one of those reasons that there was quite a bit of activist kind of terminology being thrown around. We're actually being taught in literacy subjects that there's a literacy model that's focused around activism, and they were really encouraging of us using that and teaching kids to be activists. So they don't specifically say, what kind of activism they want them to be taught, but it was very heavily implied that it's the activism that they want to see,
Well,
not
it's a form of brainwashing. I mean,
indoctrination. Yeah.
that's right. I mean, ultimately, when you're a child and you're learning things, you should be taught the art of critical thinking.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be about you should think this way. It's the art of learning how to analyze information and form an opinion. Whereas, they're changing the style to be you're going to push this view, and that's not going to let anybody grow and be a worthwhile contributor to society when you don't have the ability to actually critically analyze information and form an opinion based on information.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Can I go a bit left of field here with like depression? Like my family's got it in my family. Do you think that?
As in the mental illness,
Yeah, yeah,
depression. Yep.
yeah. Well,
No, we're not
maybe.
going back to the
No.
back to
That's
the
a little
depression.
long-winded. But you don't have control over your life. You're living someone else's life when you don't think for yourself, right?
That's right.
Do you reckon that could feed into it at all? Like, you can live with your own decisions, but if you're living with someone else's decisions, that's a hard slog, isn't it?
Well, it depends on how brainwashed you are.
Right?
Yeah,
If you're told this is the right way and every other way is the wrong way,
that's right. And if you get told something over and over again, you start to believe it as
well,
well.
it becomes
And that's where you get
fact.
yeah, and that's where you get things like that's how domestic violence evolves as well. And people who are in domestic violence and actually don't know that they're in it. And someone points it out to them. I think you're being, I think you're under attack here. And they go, oh, really? And so you actually show them what it is, and they go, and that's just my example, but like, yeah, they don't actually know it's happening until a different point of view has been shown to them. I remember watching a um a podcast with Timcast IRL, and they actually showed this one of their guests said that he used to be an activist on the left, and it wasn't until his friend actually showed him videos of like being proven wrong, and he said he actually felt pain because his world had kind of crumbled.
Yes.
And like that's crazy, and I'm sure a bunch of our kids could end up going through that because of what we're teaching them these days. I mean, we had Tucker Carlson come out recently to Australia, and one of the things he actually said was that you Australians are getting told that your land is stolen. You just keep getting told over and over again that you live on stolen land and whatnot. So when the government actually decides to come and take your land, you just fall in lockstep.
Yes.
And it's very dangerous. Oh yeah, it seems like a very bleak future, but I think what you did, Scott, just speaks volumes for actually that there is a resistance to where we're going, and so I'll bring up what you said. You said, "Is this controversial now? Like, is it controversial to celebrate Australia Day to sell this merchandise?"
Well, that's how they were, forming that view. You got all these people on boards making decisions for companies. They shouldn't be making those decisions basing on their customers. Their customers were the ones that wanted to buy the product, and they were taking their right to buy the product based on a political position.
Mm.
And they're retailers; they're not there to do politics.
And I think, yeah, our most recent, I guess, political party that are in power, the Labor Party, with their propensity to like virtue signal is been very relevant this kind of election cycle and stuff, like with the voice and how it ended up getting shot down. But all we kept getting told is that, you know, the First Nations need a voice, need their own voice and whatnot, and that we were going to step over Australians' wills to do this. And it was, I think, very telling that the results that we ended up getting, that majority of Australia said no.
Yeah, even with that incredible push by the political parties and corporations, ultimately, like I said in the article, we just want to get along, and everything's getting politicized.
Yeah.
We're losing the message. I mean, whether it's about an actual day, when we're talking Australia Day,
Yeah, Australia Day.
I think even the most people would say, okay, if you want to change the day, we'll change the day. That's fine, but I still want to celebrate being
Yeah.
Australian.
So right here,
Don't
we
take
just
away.
want to celebrate Australia and not make it a political thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard a suggestion that we move it to, I mean, because 26th of January is just an awesome time of year to be having a day off and being able to go to the beach and whatnot, because it's beautiful
Yeah.
summer days. If no one has been, if you're from overseas, you haven't been to Australia, man, get over here and experience our beaches during summer, and you'll understand why people say they're the best in the world. But yeah, the people. I've heard the suggestion that maybe we should just make it the last Friday of each January or something, and then you're getting that guaranteed for.
I think there needs to be a historical significance to it, like just a day to celebrate. That doesn't, like Anzac Day. You have to have something behind it, like
Yep.
significance.
I agree.
I don't mind like the Federation, the date of the Federation.
The first.
Yeah, maybe.
It's
That works.
overshadowed by New Year's.
No, that can go second fiddle.
No.
I think what you get pushback is from Australians going, "Hey mate, you're taking away one of our public holidays."
Why don't we have Australia Day once every month?
Oh man,
That would
that'd be so. I mean,
I can't
in support of that. We can't afford it.
Small business got to pay for it.
We can just sell the Australia Day merchandise year round.
And then if somebody brings it back, you can give them a discount in store by like 5% or something, and then you resell it next.
Only slightly soiled.
But yeah, I mean, it's hard to figure out where we move on Australia Day. I think it's fine keeping it where it is, because it's always been a celebration of Australia. Never been a celebration of the formation of Australia. It's never been a celebration of the invasion or anything like that. Like
but
but
it's been hijacked.
That's right, and that's not what we're thinking about.
No.
We just want to have a day where we enjoy, and I guess enjoy Australia and January
with Australians.
with Australians. Yeah.
People who want to
100%.
be Australians.
Yeah, and yeah, it's great. I love the holiday. Love enjoy and going out and enjoying the sun, and it's the perfect time of year for it.
Oh, we're a great country. We've got great people, and so we should celebrate.
Yeah, and it's really hard to we need to be able to keep being critical of our governments and our large institutions here, because if we don't, then we become like England, and if you are critical of your government, you can be chucked in jail for like a Facebook post. I mean, we saw it during COVID. The woman who was pregnant and she got taken away and arrested because she said a few words online. It's just crazy. And I think Australians are waking up, and which gives me hope. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think it's really up to parents to teach the kids the values that they have, and it should be reflecting of like the broader community. Like, as in, you live in Australia, you have some set values that we have in common,
Mm.
right?
It would be awesome if we could have a financial system or an economic kind of outset where we have most families being able to have one parent at home. We kind of destroyed that at the moment, haven't we?
Yeah, it's very difficult.
We definitely realize that it is difficult, and it is hard for parents to be around their kids these days, because both parents need to be at work so they can afford afford a home and food on the table and whatnot. So I do empathize with, I guess, the population. Me and my wife, we're trying to buy a house, and it's definitely been a lot harder than we thought it would be.
I don't know how people are going to do it these days. I mean, when you pay rent, how do you save then for these massive deposits that you need?
Yeah.
You,
I
you
mean,
know,
they keep shrinking and shrinking and shrinking the deposit, and then telling people, oh, you can dip into your super, and that's your retirement. So it's just kind of setting people up to fail a little bit, unless they're wise with their money. I mean, you could, if you're good, wise with your money. We were talking recently about, like, if John and his wife are able to actually access their super to pay off their house, then that would save them like $500,000 off their mortgage, kind of thing,
yes.
in the future.
Yeah, the duration of the loan.
Yeah.
So that's essentially
Yeah.
you're making $500,000.
I don't think accessing it to buy the house, because they'll just drive up house
Yeah,
prices.
they'll just
I
drive
think
up
you can
house prices. Yeah.
you should be able to take it out and use it against the mortgage of your house, so then it brings down the money owed on your house, and you're paying less interest. So the long term effect is you pay less over the home loan, but you also more money in the wallet each month.
Yeah. I mean, there's certainly uh, a lot of room for discussion with using, your own asset of your super. But obviously, there's also got to be some restraints to
That's right.
the way they do it. But definitely, you should be able to access your asset to help you get a start, because obviously we're seeing the growth of more and more families not being able to afford to buy a house. And okay, you might be able to get by while you're in your prime of working by just
Mm,
paying rent, but later in life, when you lose that ability or you need to retire, um, and you've got no assets, you
yeah.
just, life becomes more and more difficult. You become more and more reliant on benefits,
Yeah.
and uh, you know, hence your lifestyle is going to fall away pretty quickly, and the cost of health is going through the roof. And
Mm,
um, wise decisions when you're younger can set you up.
yeah, definitely.
But yes, it is very difficult. I understand why the bank of mum and dad is a real thing these days,
It is, isn't it?
and I think that's great if you can afford to help out your kids, because ultimately, parents are the ones who brought them here. So um, I think you can't just wipe your hands of your responsibilities, and if you're able to help your kids, great.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
I think it should be that should be restraint there too. Like
Yeah.
so when I was looking at renovating the first house, was just looking at hot water heaters. So expensive. And I was just talking to my mum, and she's like, "Oh no, but I'm like, no. What happens? If, like, I need to be able to do this myself at some
Yeah.
point, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's
I
not a must
wasn't.
here.
I wasn't normally just talking about
Just
maintenance
handouts.
issues. It was more the fact that
Yeah,
that
getting your foot in the door
it
and
is.
things like
Yeah.
that.
How do you suddenly find $100,000? Um,
Yeah, I think the baby boomers generally, it took them 2 years to make their 20% deposit for their house in those times, and then at the moment it takes on our wages about 10 years to get that 20% deposit.
yeah.
Cool. 2 years, just hold off for 10 years.
What?
You get 20% in 2 years. Yeah,
Back then,
okay.
back then,
Pay cash in 10 years.
you pay it off completely.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Prices have
people did
doubled,
that.
mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, inflation keeps going up, and there's
Well,
this.
that's the thing is my wage gets taxed, income tax 35%. You pay 10% GST on everything you buy, so you're bumping that up to 45% there. Whatever other tax, fuel, excise tax, whatever else, we say just 50%. That's only 5% extra with all the other taxes. Inflation, if that's 20% from 2 years ago, that's your income is worth 20% less, right? That's how it works. So it's really taxation without actual representation there. So your money's not going nearly as far.
No taxation with no representation.
Yeah, and that's through government spending money that it doesn't have. It deflates So that's why it's so hard to buy a house, because everything costs more, not just your houses, and then you got to save up still with less money.
Yeah, when we sold out all of our big jobs here in Australia, so we don't do a heap with our actual minerals that we mine. We just send it overseas.
Yeah,
let them do everything else.
Value add over there.
And then we buy it back.
Yeah, but also there's a lot of red tape with labor. Like if you have to do a job for the government, good luck with that, because it's like
it
days and days.
Needs
and
some
days.
smarter regulation.
Ticking boxes. Yeah.
I mean, the intentions of all regulations are good, but they just add costs.
Yeah.
And for instance, they have all these kind of catchphrases, especially around election time, of we need more manufacturing in our country.
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah.
But the reason we don't have it is because we can't afford it, and we want cheaper. And the average manufacturing plant probably, is paying their workers $60 an hour by the time all the add-ons.
Yeah.
So you can't afford the end product.
Yeah.
So it's
and less productive staff too with that $60, right?
Yeah. But so that's why we buy it from Asian countries, and because it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, well, it's really hard to compete with slave labor.
It is absolutely. That's probably another topic for another day.
I mean, we recently we brought up Anthony Albanese's what we're what's going on there? What we're working on in Parliament, helping with the cost of living, paying super on parental leave, wiping out $3 billion of student debt. Where's that money coming from? They're either printing it or taxpayers are paying it off.
Or they're just removing indexation for a couple of years, weren't they? Is that all it was?
I think indexation, like they've made indexation to either inflation or wage growth.
Yeah.
So it's still there, and your debt will still grow.
I'll talk to you about that. I hate all that.
Yeah. I hate it as well, and I wish, because I recently had student debt, and me and my wife, we paid it all off, and if I actually knew what that debt was when I was younger, and actually been educated on this type of stuff, we don't get told any of this stuff in school.
No.
See, it pays to be dumb.
Yeah, it pays to find out. And so we paid off all our student debt, and now our taxpayer money is going towards students who can't be bothered paying off their student debt. The last one here is creating secure jobs with a future made in Australia.
I mean, seriously, it's just political speak. All this ideology crap they throw around just to
Both sides.
Oh yeah,
yes, that's right.
No, it's political. They say stuff to get re-elected. It's got nothing to do that. Half the stuff is ideology. It's never going to happen. And, like what Bob Hawke talked about, there'll be no kid.
So you're saying this is like the
homeless.
scorpion and the frog? What would you expect? I'm a politician, sort of a thing.
It frustrates me, but I know it's not real. A lot of people love it, and they get swept away by all the words and, oh, we've done this, we're doing this, we've got a plan, but we never see a plan. How's the plan? We'll just form another committee.
We'll tax more of the rich and give the lower class more, and so
more welfare, more welfare, more welfare.
And so if you're the voting majority being the lower classes are going to vote for taking more money.
But it doesn't work because you think to become rich, you have to be somewhat smart, right? And how are they going to just take the money and go, oh, okay, well, I just guess I lost that money? No, they offset that cost when they sell products and what have you. Same thing happened when they had the carbon emission trading scheme, right?
Yep.
So what happened is our energy prices like doubled overnight, and then they go, actually, we'll just give you a rebate at tax time to offset the cost that it's costing you to just
It was
turn on the
what,
light.
$300?
No, this is back in
Oh,
Kevin 07.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
right.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that they would, whatever your bill went up by, they would give you money back. And I'm like, well, I'd rather just have the money week to week rather than wait until a tax return. It's just stupid.
I'd rather
Smoke and mirrors.
I'd rather just not have to pay as much in power bills with these ridiculous green agendas that are then costing us so much. We've got the largest thermal deposits of thermal coal in Australia, and we've got great coal generation 4 power plants, and they would do so well if we actually used them, and our power prices would drop dramatically.
Oh, but you can't say that, mate.
Oh.
Can't use coal. Haven't you heard them screaming?
Yeah.
But
more carbon.
We send it overseas, though.
That's right. Yeah, it's okay to sell it
That's
there.
right. We let
them build more coal-fired power stations everywhere around the world.
Yeah, it doesn't affect us here. And the carbon's over there. It's not like the world is one atmosphere or anything like that.
I do actually agree with just air quality needs to be better in the cities. Like you got so many millions of cars in one place, and
Absolutely.
you go out camping whenever, and you just breathe the air, and you're like, oh, is this what clean air?
Yeah,
it's
like, oh, yeah, fresh air. No, this is actual air.
So we need more electric cars. Is that what you're saying?
No,
well, I think John would be an advocate for electric cars in the cities.
In the city, but the city is too
big,
massive
too big and massive. Yeah. We don't have the infrastructure to support them at all.
And I don't see that ever changing unless they become so efficient that they're virtually not taking any power.
Well, it's like the NBN, isn't it? Because it's going to roll it out. Yeah.
Yeah, and
big place.
Yeah.
And if we actually start going into things like AI takes a lot of power, and so we're actually going to need those power. We're going to have to go nuclear. We're going to have to go nuclear if we're actually going to keep up with emerging technologies and stuff, or we're just going to stagnate or
stay with coal.
Yeah, we use coal. 100%. We should actually be using coal right now so we can offset our costs, so we can actually build that infrastructure and actually make it.
Haven't worked out the transition. It's great ideas, but once again, we're paying for it because they haven't got the transition right.
Yeah, so that's right.
Look at the gas we sit on. We pay too much for it because we're locked into some world pricing or whatever. We buy it back from the people we sell it to because we sell too much than we keep for ourselves.
But how much of the stuff that we should be producing here in Australia that we no longer produce. It's we used to be a powerhouse of made in Australia. That's a little sticker. It used to be on everything. Now it's on nothing.
Well, I think it's more regulations is the issue.
Is the issue.
So the problem with the Wild West, right, is that everyone can be a scam artist, but everyone can be an entrepreneur. Right. So you got to take that risk. And if you get sold snake oil, it's meant to only happen once. You don't get sold it every day of the week. Right. The problem is people keep getting the same scam, getting scammed multiple times. And then it's up to the government now to look after these people that keep, falling for the same traps.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
I think so. I think we actually need to let actually need to lean into capitalism and actually let it take
That's what I'm
its
saying.
course.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, I mean, the Holden should have disappeared a long time ago, and better car manufacturers should have popped up. But our government just kept bailing them out, even though
I
they
think it
kept
would just
making
end up
bad.
being Japanese, Chinese, and German cars. It wouldn't be.
I mean, we need to stick to what we're good at, right? We're good at farming, and we need to farm more. But our government is definitely paying people not to farm. My landlord has a friend who inherited a farm. He was paid not to farm, and he then inherited the neighbor's farm because he had no family, and he was paid even more not to farm any of that land. So he's sitting there going, I've got all this land that I could be potentially building an industry on, and he's getting paid by our government not to farm because of carbon emissions.
What?
Yeah.
Methane emissions.
Just emissions.
Yeah, okay.
Just CO2 emissions, they call it, you know. But he's just getting, and this is what's happening over in Denmark and stuff, and in France when the big demonstrations were happening with the farmers. They're getting told not to farm, or they're getting taxed through the roof because of their carbon emissions. We in Australia we're good at farming, we're good at wool, we're good at
Mining.
natural resources. Yeah,
And
mining.
wine overseas.
Wine. Yeah, wine's pretty good.
Pretty competitive.
But we actually need to lean into the things that we're good at
and celebrate it, not demonize it.
not demonize it.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
there won't be anything left if we don't.
Yeah.
And everyone's standard of living will drop even more. And so the elites are happy with it.
The problem is the politicians always point the finger at the rich people or like the other people, right? And go, we're going to tax them, or, it's all their fault. But people are actually buying that, like, so young people are buying that and go, yeah, we do need like more social.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, just
ultimately,
give me.
I don't like the demonizing of the wealthy. You can always select a case of, well, that person needs to pay more tax than that person. But if you break it down, the person who is supposedly earning a lot of money is paying a lot of tax.
They
mightn't be paying the most income tax, but the wealthy spend money. They buy expensive things. They buy expensive cars. They have lots of property. They're paying a lot more GST than you and I put together.
That's it.
So that's a form of tax. And they're usually employ people.
Yeah.
So they offer
they
job
normally build
opportunity.
things.
So there may be, some wealthy people that don't do any of that, but I don't think we're talking about them. We're really demonizing people that you should have people within your society that are successful, that create opportunity, that develop, that innovate, that take risk, they invest, they take people along on the ride. And if we don't have those kind of people, what are we? We may as well just be run by a dictator and we're a socialist.
That's sometimes how it feels, isn't it?
We stagnate pretty quick when there won't be any innovation. There's no reward for your risk. You don't take the risk. You just go.
And Australia used to be up there with innovations. We made the Hills hoist, lawnmower, Wi-Fi, black box.
Yeah.
We actually had some pretty awesome innovations.
Yeah, cochlear.
Yeah, the cochlear implant. Yeah. And the money has to come from somewhere for those things to actually. There needs to be a market, and the market provides, and so those people with the money who are entrepreneurs will then go, oh, there's a gap in the market, let's fill it, and that provides jobs, it provides industry, and it provides furthering our technological society.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt opportunity comes your way when people are willing to have a go.
That's it, and giving people a go.
Yeah, definitely.
And not just
We can't survive on handouts
No, we can't
because
survive on
where do the
handouts.
handouts come from?
Everyone else.
Right. So,
But not just that, you lose your dignity when you,
that's right.
especially as men, especially as men.
I don't think people care about that much anymore because men have been demonized. Like masculinity has been demonized, and so you got people who think actual ambition and drive is all toxic masculinity, and you can't go forward with that.
Not a thing.
It's not, no, it's not. It's actually just normal masculinity, and they're the people who build things. I mean, if you look at the people building the roads, people building your infrastructure, your manufacturing, most of those industries are dominated by men because men are working hard in those industries, and it's not just physical labor; it's just they have the drive to do so as well.
Yeah. Um,
And it's not just to say that women can't do it, but it's just generally speaking, a man will most of the time do those things better.
Oh, you're getting into dangerous ground here. I'm not getting into that one.
You're more
my
than
wife,
welcome not to.
my wife agrees. My wife agrees
What with?
with men do things better.
Really?
Yeah.
Do they do all things better?
Well, I asked her, is God a male? And she goes, yeah. And I go, do you know why? She goes, no, because he's always right.
Good answer.
When I was in the army, they gave us a belt and they said, the male side is always on the right because the male's always right.
Okay, so is this podcast just for men?
Yeah.
Look,
I think it's 80 plus, isn't it?
when you actually look at the statistics of podcasting, it's mostly men are actually ones watching and listening to podcasts than women are. I think it's like
men too.
80% to like 20% kind of thing.
Interesting.
So generally, our audience would actually most likely to be men. So. And John actually, this is something we actually wanted to bring up, like that we're actually have said before, that we're actually really keen on actually building a community that supports young men and actually builds them up and whatnot.
Rather than tearing them down.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Like even this promise here of protecting women and children from deepfakes, we looked into that, and it's just about protecting them from masculinity.
Misogyny.
No, that's it. Misogyny. Yeah, that's a word.
And that was like what was misogyny means? It means like contempt for women, kind of thing. And it actually had nothing. It didn't say anything to do with deepfakes, and it had something to do with protecting children in terms of like pornography and stuff.
Which I think the problem is with that is there was protections in place already. You couldn't go up to an account and look at a porno mag back in the 80s, right? They pushed to liberalize that, and now they're like, actually, it's pretty bad having anyone access this.
Yeah. So at what age do you think you should be giving your kid a smartphone? I don't think you should be giving your kid a smartphone for a very long time.
When they can afford to buy it and upkeep it themselves.
Yeah.
They should do it.
They should do it.
Yeah, it shouldn't be up to the parents. They should give them a dumb
parents
phone.
need to be able to educate them on those type of subjects as well.
It shouldn't be up to the schools, I don't think, for sex talks or anything like that. But it should be up to the parents. Not that my parents did a great job.
I think parenting's hard.
Yeah. No, I just feel like
John's about to find out.
Well, I just find that people don't take their role seriously enough, and they don't realise that the role is so important because you're creating, the next human who's going to become an adult, who's then going to be independent, and you haven't done a good job of that. They don't then make good decisions.
Yeah,
and that's what we're dealing with. I mean, the next topic of youth crime and the proliferation around the countries of 12-year-olds stealing cars, but that is all a reflection of parenting.
Yeah.
I know it's a very generalized comment.
Yeah.
I understand that, but seriously, if a police rang me and told me that my son was arrested from doing this, stealing a car or doing a robbery,
Mm,
I would be very alarmed, and there'd be a complete repercussions
that's right.
of those
Yeah.
decisions. But I feel generally that the comments probably coming back to the police is, "Oh, I don't know where he is. I didn't know he was out there." And that it's completely removed the respect and expectations of the kids today, and I
Mm.
think it's got a lot to do with the parenting, the upbringing.
With that though, I believe that the enforcement should be done by the father. And so
Hmm.
when I'm one of six, when we were in trouble at home with the mum, she would say, "Wait until your father gets home," and you got to
Yes,
spin her on that for until he gets home.
that's right. That was very traditional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously that too. You'll probably grow up in an era where you know, getting a smack or something
Was normal.
was the norm, and now it's not. So they've
Yeah, I
changed.
got smacked as a child, and I 100% thank my parents for it.
Yeah, but I suppose I obviously I'm older than you guys, so it was
About 21.
prevalent. Yeah, just over.
Well, I've
And
got more grey hair than you. Look at this.
but and in the school system too, there was the cane, and we
Mm,
used to get the sand shoe if we'd forget a piece of our uniform, and so there was things that were accepted as normal,
yeah.
which aren't now. Um, and so we're trying to deal with these things in a different way, but there just doesn't seem to be consequences for choices. And
Mm.
whether
It's,
that's the way the parent is because they never had consequences, so therefore,
mm.
I don't know. All I know is what I do
Yeah.
and the consequences for choices in my family.
Mm.
I can't speak for others, but I am shocked with the degradation of society and its morality. And
I mean, after working in schools, I see how many I get to listen. I was a chaplain, so I got to listen to the teachers a lot. One of the things they harped on about was behavior, and if they actually brought up anything like behavior and actually use their voice in an authoritarian type of way, the kid would go home, complain to their parent. The parent would then complain to the school. Oh, they yelled at me, and yeah. And so the parents would then go into bat for their kid instead of going, what my parents would have done is like,
what did you do?
what did you do?
Yeah.
You deserved it.
Did you deserve it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually
That was
hold
a
me
default
accountable for my
back at home.
actions. That's
That's
it.
right.
Yeah.
Like, you stubbed your toe on the footpath,
Yeah.
and you just think, I'm an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, I can sue the council.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So
it.
it's
That's
the whole
actually a good idea.
mentality.
We've gotten to
You
the
need that
point.
house deposit, right?
Gotten
Okay.
to the point where you look at your coffee cup and always all has all these signs on it.
Warning.
Oh, caution hot, caution hot. You just bought a hot coffee.
Well,
They
the
had
one
to-
I love the most is now in the handbook in the brand new car,
Yeah,
and it talks about warnings.
yeah.
And one of them, when it talks about the coolant system,
Yeah.
it says, "Warning: Do not drink the coolant."
Right. Sound advice.
Yeah.
What about like those when kids were eating putting those
Laundry.
the laundry tabs in their
Yeah.
Oh, really?
yeah,
Yeah.
that was a thing going around on social media, and so kids were doing dumb things. They watch other people do dumb things, and they do dumb things too.
So now there's a warning. Don't.
Don't put it in your
The
mouth.
problem is they can't read, so therefore it doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, I
What's
mean,
that for
like
the parent?
we're talking about responsibility and whatnot, and we find that the adults in our society use adulting as a word to, oh, look at me, I'm adulting, and it's like, that should be the norm. And it's like our adults these days want to be as childish as children.
I heard one better from my brother. He goes, "My partner's out tonight, so I got to babysit my kid." I'm like, When it's your kid, it's just parenting. That's right. You call it baby.
How much an hour do you get paid?
But yeah,
Side hustle.
the daddy daycare. There's a movie on that. No, but like our kids aren't being brought up with any responsibility. They're getting away on people's coattails, and it's interesting looking back at when I was talking with Jack and his life. When he was 12 years old, he was working for the family.
Yes.
He was going out finding newspapers to then sell back to the news agencies to then take that money, and he would go take all the money that he earned. He would take it straight back home to give to his family, because his family was his responsibility as well. And if you're a young man and you weren't helping your family, that was something that was frowned upon, and it was expected of kids to do that. And if you actually give kids the opportunity to be like adults, they actually do. They want to be like you. They look up to your dad, look up to your father. They want to be like their father. Like a video that keeps popping up is this kid over in, I think it's Tennessee, who loves his farming equipment, and his video has gone viral of this 9-year-old going up to a farmer, and he's like using all the jargon, and he sounds as yokel as anyone else, and it's awesome to see. And he's like talking things that you'd expect an adult to be kind of bringing up.
Mimicked his father
Yeah.
in some way.
Yeah, that's right.
They model pretty quickly. So I was cooking with my nephew, and they don't normally have him on the hip around the kitchen, but he gets it up to mischief if they're busy normally. And I just had him like adding a bit of salt, that kind of thing. And he picked it up like straight away. He's only 2.
Well, when I was younger, and this is when you could actually trust people and whatnot. My family was putting into skylights, and I was 2 years old. So I was and my mum had to duck out to go grab my brother from school, and so she was like, "You're all right with him?" And I was just captivated by this guy. Apparently, so I don't remember. Of course, I was too young, but he was hand to his heart. He was like, your boy's very intuitive. He watched me do the first one, and then for the second one, he handed me each piece as I needed it. Like kids just.
He's a genius.
So what do you do now? Do you install skylights?
I don't install skylights. I work with synthetic grass and rubber at the moment.
You picked it up quickly?
Ask my boss.
Yeah.
Or my coworker.
So he was around for a bit, just as casual, and we didn't really have him doing much of anything, like just labouring sort of thing. But once he quit his school,
moved on from
it
my
was
role
like
at school.
a week, but it's like low IQ work, to be honest. It's not you don't have to be anything smart.
No, it's more about just being
showing up.
Everybody
showing up and actually doing the job.
Yeah,
putting in the
if
the
you
work.
get good at it, it is.
I just mean you can learn.
Yeah.
You can learn anything.
Yeah.
You put your mind to it.
Yeah,
like it's. I find it's he's been doing it for so long. He actually probably doesn't appreciate it like I do, but I see the workmanship that goes into it, because when I've talked to people in the industry, and they're telling me the way they do it and whatnot, and then we've seen pictures and whatnot, it just doesn't look as good. And so the work these guys put in is actually very, very good, and they're very good at their craft. You're very good at your craft, John.
Pride in your work.
Yeah.
Well, the whole idea is you start, middle, and end, and you see all the process, and you don't want to be thinking about it at night going, did I do the best I could?
Yeah.
So same with soccer,
But I think
football.
The problem is that people don't care if they do the best they can. They're just like, let's get it let's do the minimum to get past.
Yeah.
It's like what we've done through school. I'll just get the 50% just so I can. It's like that we've brought that up into our society as well.
When I played tackle footy for one season, coach said to me, "Oh, you have no self-preservation for your body." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Oh, you go as hard as you can." And I'm like, "Am I the only guy out here doing that? What's going on here?" I thought, like, you're paying money to play a sport that you enjoy. Surely you go hard.
Hey, you were paid money?
Uh,
You were paying
registration.
the registration.
There was a payment, but I wasn't there because it was like a long weekend and I was away. But it's win, lost, draw.
Yeah.
But I think lost was $0. So
I've watched him play soccer as well, and he'll jump in there. He's very as he said,
Committed.
no self preservation.
but why would I go there? Like, give up a weekend to just stand on it, like in a random field? Like, you gotta
Look, I'm
do
the
something.
same when it comes to sport. I'm very competitive, and I would probably say that I probably very similar. We played spike ball recently, and it's not the best ground, and I'm always the one always the ones diving for it, even though it's like pretty much concrete underneath the synthetic grass. Oh dear. Do you play any sports, Scott?
I play a lot of tennis, but I grew up playing everything. So I played soccer as a young kid, then played rugby, um, then went back to soccer, but I played a lot of tennis, and I still play tennis 2 or 3 times a week.
Do you get into squash at all?
In the early days when squash was a thing,
Yeah, it's kind of dropped off.
it's hard to find a
Bit of
squash
a
court these
bit of
days.
a cult following now.
Yeah, no, that was more probably in my early teens, so that's the 70s and the 80s.
I'm terrible at tennis now. Squash killed my
Well,
tennis
that
game.
ruins a good stroke. Yeah, don't tell a tennis coach you're going to go and play squash.
Ruined my game.
Yeah.
And you had your kids play sports?
Yeah, oh, yes. Well, actually, my
How many kids do you have?
I have 3 kids. My youngest daughter had her school athletics carnival today
Oh yeah,
at
cool.
Mingara, and they play netball every Saturday. My daughter's a very good tennis player as well. And my older daughter, she's in the same netball team. She played a lot of tennis as well, but gave it up, as most young ladies seem to give up at about 15. And my son is an avid soccer player and plays grade here on the coast. And no, they're very
Hoping to play for Mariners one day.
well. He bet me when he was a young kid that he was going to play for the Mariners, and I said, "Well, if you don't make it by you're 21, you can pay me $10,000." He shook my hand. I was still waiting for the 10 grand. Though.
Oh, so that's past that time.
Yeah, he's just about to turn 25.
I'm sure when you retire and it's time for the arrows in your quiver to then to back you up. I'm sure he'll be there.
Yeah, he's a really good kid. So it was all about at the time when he had a very, very high opinion of his ability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was more about, okay, we'll back it up, mate.
Mm.
And he wasn't able to. But he loves his soccer and he's good now. But when he was younger, he thought he was better than he was.
Yeah, that's a young man.
Yeah,
Oh, big man.
we're all like that.
Whereas they're all, we did the standard thing as parents was the swimming. So went to
Mm.
Mingara at 6 o'clock in the morning every day of the week
Yeah.
and did all the tennis and they're still good runners and do that. So we're very sport orientated family.
Yeah.
Love it.
And did both you and your wife work, or was one of you at home?
No, with the kids, Fiona, my wife, uh, was working for ANZ at the time, if I can say that. And
I guess
then,
you can check with her when you get home.
and I had the store, the Boost Juice,
Yeah.
and she only had a bit of time off. She went back after about a year, I think, back to ANZ, and then eventually she became a full-time mum.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
cool.
And she love it?
Oh yeah, I mean she's a classic. Yeah,
I think that's what a lot of what I've heard. this is anecdotal evidence, is that once women start having kids, they just fall in love with being a parent, kind of thing. It's
being a
not
mother.
being a
It's
mother.
oh, it is amazing. I mean, she's amazing, but it is a gift being a parent.
And I think our society is now just telling women that they need to be more like men, and we've taken away, like, whereas they in the past they've gone, oh, all I am is a housewife and mother, like all these things, and we're just like, no, well, all you are is now another cog in the wheel. I think we need to actually start honoring mothers and actually going, well, no, you're doing something that we can't do, and
But we
you're
have
the
made it hard, haven't we? Because
that's it.
uh, we need two incomes now.
Mm.
It's become
Yeah,
difficult.
I reckon if you got rid of
It's
women in the workforce, or at least women that have kids, the labor market would be too competitive. The wages will go up because you need the work still to be done. And speaking to people within the government, then like as in council or transport, I go, how many people could you take over their role at work to have an actual full time job to do your 38 hours in the week or 40 hours in the week? They go, I could probably take up 3 people's jobs, 2 people's jobs.
mm,
So like they can do more work and get paid more, and if there's half the labor force.
but yeah, society tells women that they're more valued being a worker. That being a stay-at-home mum is not. There's no value in that.
Or they're the glue of the family.
That's right.
You notice when, like, so my nan, um, she was the glue of the family, and you'd see like the extended family from her side, the extended family from my dad's side, all come together around Christmas or Easter or whenever she organises a feast. And when she goes, you really notice it because you don't see these people anymore in your own family
Mm,
because there's not someone that's always probing to make it happen. And the hospitality that mothers and grandmothers have
yeah.
is incredible.
Yeah, the love.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, so we need to start up our own award show called The Mummies, and we need to start honoring mums and telling them that it's okay to be a mum because there's a lot of worth and a lot of value in motherhood.
100%.
And a lot of work.
That's it. It's
Yeah.
it's a lot of work. I would say it's more work.
Well, it is because the average bloke comes home and doesn't really help out a lot.
Guys, don't talk
Yeah.
too loud. My wife's.
Will she come break down the door?
I'm gonna let her know that I work harder than her when time comes.
Physically you might, but I think
She's a good
mentally
cookie.
exhausting. That it's pretty much like nearly 24-hour care that's going on there. Like, that's a hard job.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
But I can't think of anything more rewarding than seeing your kids grow up.
Oh, mate, it's the best thing ever. It's the best thing ever.
And then being competent, able to navigate the world. You've done a decent
Yeah.
job then.
Oh, I mean, I never stop parenting. We sit down and have dinner at the dinner table every night,
Mm,
and we discuss everything.
Yeah,
Um, but I enjoy that. Some people
mm,
mightn't want to do that, but I enjoy that because they're me. They're part of me, and so I want them to be the best version that they can be. And I'm wanting, I've got all the cliches, but you want them to go out there and have this wonderful life. So you're trying to set them up, give them the foundations, and hoping that the mistakes that they do make are small ones.
yeah,
yeah,
And the world that they move in now compared to the world that I had at their age is so completely different. It is a
yeah,
lot scarier now. And um, just the simple thing of the internet and,
yeah. It's
mobile
very
phones with
scary.
cameras and stuff like I always just say to them, you get one reputation, look after it because
Mm, that's
it's so
wise
scary.
advice.
Well, it's just so scary, You see people we know on television getting in trouble all the time because a photograph gets taken here or there,
yeah.
and that stays with them for the rest of their life. It's part of their reputation. It affects their employment. So I know there's a lot of vindictive people out there who can create problems, but if you try and tread the path correctly and look after your reputation, the mistakes will only be little ones, and it's hard. I mean, it sounds a bit ridiculous, I suppose, to them when they're younger. Oh yeah, good on your dad. But you just kind of like feel like, oh, it's my job. It's my job. I've got to instill them with my wisdom.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's it.
But and they think you're an old, but yeah.
So with that, would you say you've modeled yourself after your own parents or your own father?
Oh, 100%. I mean, you are, you're a product of your parents.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
unfortunately.
I know there's good and bad,
For some people,
but
yeah.
but
It's
but honestly, when it comes to things like the style of discipline that you in,
Yeah.
and my mother was a speech and drama teacher, and she was a very strong woman, and until the day she died, she was still working, and she only died just over a year ago, and because her passion for what she did. And so in our household, both my parents were actors, so the English language drove them.
yeah. Language is very
So
important.
everything was about how you spoke, how you acted. It's
Mm.
all about manners and everything you did day to day. And so I then, when I met Fiona, we had children. It was a very big focus
Mm.
on how to act, how to speak.
How to
My
be a
son, you shake
functioning
the
member of
man's
society.
hand, you look him in the eye,
Mm.
and so it was all those things which now, unfortunately, I believe are being eroded, um, about respect and presentation, dress, the way you talk. Um, respect the elderly. You stand up for a person on the bus, on the train who needs a seat.
Mm.
All those things you don't see anymore. But I don't care. I'll protect my patch. I'll instill them with these values that I believe, and then I know that they will instill it into their children one day.
Mm.
Because I sometimes say about the erosion of values in society and standards, that I use an example to a few of my mates that I'm not a good golfer by any stretch. I'm a once a year kind of golfer.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, but I use the example of the erosion in society of standards. But at least when you go to a nice golf course, they have not budged.
Yeah.
They say, no, on this, you have to dress this way, you have to act this way, you can't talk on your phone when you're out there, you can't do this in the club room. And um, sections of society will go, that is ridiculous, mate. Come on, I just want to wear my thongs. I smoke and do this and do that. No,
Mm.
I've said at least these guys haven't budged,
Yeah.
because everyone else has given in and saying, no, you can do what you want. You can say whatever you want to the police. You can tell them to get whatever, and it doesn't matter. So I, and that's kind of part of my parenting. It's like, no, you have standards. We're not prudish. We're not silly about it, but it's just like, no, be the best you can, and just protect your own.
Yeah. So I think we're coming up on a good time to finish, and so let's start wrapping up. Scott, is there anything you want to say to Australia? Like, what would be your kind of pinnacle of advice there?
We've heard some wisdoms.
We've heard a lot of wisdom
What's the
tonight,
final
and
wisdom?
I think you've got, yeah, I think you're a wealth of wisdom, and
Ridiculous.
we've loved having you here, and loved hearing your story.
I've enjoyed being here. It's a lot of fun.
You can always come back.
Rope me in again. I don't know if I've got any classic wisdoms again, but it's, I just think that people out there need to have pride in who they are, and always strive to be the best that you can be. I
Mm.
know it sounds very cliche.
Yeah, but it's something that needs to be heard and actually needs to be acted upon.
Oh, I think so. I mean,
People,
we can all, everybody can improve every day.
That's right.
You never stop learning until the day you die. So why not want to be a better version? And, take that time to be with the people that you love and the people that are important to you. Because we spend our days a lot of time in doing meaningless things, whether it be flicking through a social media stream
Yeah.
and just losing hours. But the important people usually are your family and your friends are around you. So time is short. Enjoy it, and enjoy life.
That's great. And Scott, we'd like to thank you for coming on. And this thing here in front of you is actually a little gift from us.
Oh, thank you.
So you can open it and let us know what you think.
Suspense.
A little bit of
awesome.
John and Gary Live merchandise. A little mug,
Thank
mug
you.
there for you to remember
Thank
your
you.
time here with us.
I'll have a coffee with that tomorrow morning.
Sounds good.
If you can, just look up the Bible verse we've got on the front of that.
It's a bit of a funny one.
Bit of a
For those who are watching and can't see it, it's at the beginning of the show. You'll see it. It's Proverbs 14:23, and I recommend everyone look it up because it's a little bit funny. All right, that's it for us tonight. Thank you for coming on, John. Is there anything you want to say before we finish up?
No, looking forward to having you back on though.
Yeah. Your open invitation. Thanks, it was awesome having you here.
I enjoyed it. I loosened up after a while.
No, you did great. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us. If you could please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share the show with your friends, that would be greatly appreciated. And we'll see you next time.